She left me for a rich frat boy when I was broke. Now I'm a millionaire, engaged, and she wants me back. Part 1: The Ghost in the Library. College didn't feel like a launching pad to success. Not for me. It felt like a sterile corridor of sleepless nights and fluorescent lights that never flickered off, just buzzed above our heads like the hum of 1,000 unfinished dreams. While most of my peers floated between frat parties, cramming sessions, and late-night pizza orders, I existed in the margins. Not forgotten but invisible in a different way by choice. While they reveled in the freedoms of young adulthood, I camped in the furthest corner of the library where no one cared to venture, surrounded by discarded textbooks, lukewarm coffee, and my beat-up borrowed laptop. I wasn't studying for exams. I wasn't memorizing formulas or revising essays. I was coding, building an e-commerce site from scratch with no funding, no formal business education, and no one who believed in it except for me. It was ugly, glitchy, crashed more than it ran. But it was mine. I lived off discount ramen and half-price coffee refills, sometimes going to sleep with the plastic spoon still in my hand. While others sought grades, I sought survival. I didn't know if it would ever work, but something in me whispered it had to. Then she entered my life. Nina. She glided into sophomore orientation like she belonged to every room. Effortlessly magnetic, confident, loud without being obnoxious. When she first noticed me, I was slumped over a table at a campus mixer I didn't even want to attend. I'd been guilted into it by my roommate and had brought my laptop with me, thinking maybe I could troubleshoot a shipping script between forced conversations. She strolled past me in a crimson tank top and denim jacket, balancing a red Solo cup in one hand. She glanced at my screen, squinted at the code, and smirked. "You look like a cyber monk," she said, raising an eyebrow. I laughed, probably more start. But all honeymoons end. By junior year, the cracks began to show. My site, my startup, if you could even call it that, was still hemorrhaging money. I'd had some initial traction, a couple of orders a week, but the expenses drowned them. Hosting costs, transaction fees, a botched marketing campaign that did nothing but drain my last $200. I became more obsessive, less present. I turned down beach trips, skipped tailgate parties, and pulled back from everything that wasn't the dream. To me, that felt like commitment. To her, it was abandonment. "You've changed," she told me one night as I microwaved a cup of stale coffee, and she scrolled through vacation photos on her phone. "You're not fun anymore." "It's not supposed to be fun," I said. "It's supposed to be worth it." She rolled her eyes and muttered something about me marrying my laptop. The line stung more than I let on. From there, it got worse. When I'd brainstorm product copy aloud, she'd sigh loudly. When I pulled another all-nighter fixing a bug in the payment gateway, she didn't text good luck. She texted, "We need a break. I need someone who's actually here." That was it. A cold little message with no punctuation, delivered just after 2 a.m., while I was still debugging CSS errors. I reread it until the letters blurred, typed a reply I never sent, and sat there staring at my reflection in the blank screen. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just sat still. The kind of still that feels like a weight on your chest. Her silence after that was loud, echoing. She blocked my number, stopped showing up in places we once claimed as ours. I became a ghost haunting old spaces. I watched from afar, stupidly, I admit, as her social media became a highlight reel of beach resorts, cocktails with salted rims, and group selfies from Turks and Caicos. I wasn't invited to that trip. Hell, I didn't even know it was happening. But there she was, center frame, beaming beneath a waterfall, her head tilted affectionately. I learned supplier negotiation by emailing Chinese manufacturers at 3 a.m. I redesigned the website's UI between economics lectures and packed every order myself in the grimy basement mailroom behind my dorm. I studied conversion rates instead of studying for finals. I failed 2 classes that year. But I also quadrupled my monthly revenue. I became obsessed with every metric. Bounce rates, cart abandonment, ad spend versus ROAS. By the time I walked across the stage at graduation, I was already making more money than my first corporate internship offered. So I turned it down. 5 years went by. Not in semesters or summers, but in milestones. Product launches. Scaling. Hiring my first assistant. Outsourcing logistics. Hitting 10K, then 100K, then 500K in sales. I traded the ramen for ramen with truffle oil. Traded my library corner for a high-rise loft with floor-to-ceiling windows. Traded loneliness for something steady, something real. Rachel came into my life during the lean years. We met at a startup networking event when I was still pitching my product to anyone who would listen. She wasn't flashy. No red Solo cup, no cryptic texts. Just kindness, curiosity, and patience. She saw my numbers and asked thoughtful questions, but more than that, she asked if I was sleeping, eating, taking breaks. She showed up for the unglamorous parts. The 3 a.m. restocks, the customer service nightmares, the weeks where we barely broke even. She was there for the messy middle. And she stayed. The night my dashboard crossed $1.8 million in lifetime revenue, I sat alone in my apartment and sent her a screenshot with a single message. It worked. She replied in 3 seconds. I never doubted it. There's a ring box in my nightstand now. Velvet, navy blue, simple. Waiting for the right weekend. The right words. The right moment. But I never doubted she'd say yes. And then it happened. The moment I thought I'd already put behind me. Wrapped up, buried, grieved, and moved on from. A knot. Didn't think much of that message. It was one of those things you see, process, and file away as an afterthought. An echo from a version of your life you'd already outgrown. A look at me now moment that didn't need words or revenge or closure. The silence was enough. But life has a funny way of forcing unfinished chapters back into your line of sight. A week later, I was scheduled to speak at a mid-sized networking event downtown. Nothing major. Just a tech panel for up-and-coming entrepreneurs. I'd done dozens of them over the last year, usually to pay it forward, share lessons, or maybe inspire someone who was exactly where I'd once been. No expectations. No drama. Just another polished story about grit and scaling and customer obsession in a downtown conference center that smelled like dry pastries and stale coffee. But the moment I stepped off stage and scanned the mingling crowd by the snack bar, I saw her. Nina. At first, I thought it was just someone who looked like her. But then she turned, same walk, same tilt of the head, same effortless confidence, like she was always supposed to be the center of any room. She hadn't changed entirely, just evolved. Her outfit was curated, designer but understated. Hair pinned in a way that said, I meant to look casual, but I checked 5 times before walking in. She wasn't the girl from the dorms anymore. She was polished, poised, intentional. The kind of look people wear when they're planning to be seen. She spotted me just seconds later. Her face lit up, all manufactured surprise and eager warmth, as if the past hadn't happened. Wow, she said as she walked over, drink in hand. I almost didn't recognize you. You look different. Time'll do that, I said casually, resisting the urge to let sarcasm slip through. You're really doing it now, huh? She continued. I saw your Forbes feature and thought, there he is. There's the guy I always believed in. Her voice had that syrupy tone that could pass as affection or man. I've missed talking to you, she said, her eyes searching mine. You were always so steady, focused, kind. I didn't realize how rare that was until later. Her words were carefully chosen, a little rehearsed, like she'd imagined this conversation in her head and was finally delivering the lines. She looked at me like we were picking up where we left off, as if no time or damage had passed. I've been thinking about us, she went on. Back then, I didn't know what I wanted. I was young, stupid probably, but I never stopped caring about you. She paused, then added with deliberate softness, honestly, I never stopped loving you. She let that line hang in the air, like bait, a confession years too late. A lifeline tossed across time, expecting me to grab it. I didn't flinch. I didn't smile. I didn't even pretend to be shocked. Because the truth is, if she had said those words to me back when I was falling asleep on library floors and surviving on canned soup, I might have believed her. I might have let her back in and tried to rebuild what she'd walked away from. But she didn't say them then. She said them now, after Forbes, after the Tesla, after the loft with skyline views and the successful startup with 6 full-time employees. After it was safe. That's a lot to take in, I said evenly. She smiled again, hopeful. Or maybe just strategic. Would you want to catch up sometime? She asked. Just dinner. No pressure. Before I could answer, a hand touched my back. Familiar, grounding, and real in a way that nothing about this interaction had been. Rachel. She leaned in and kissed my cheek, casually handing me a bottle of water. You did great up there, she said with a beaming smile. Panel went smooth? I smiled back. Yeah, just wrapping up now. Nina blinked, just for a moment, her expression faltering ever so slightly. Rachel turned to her, polite as always. I stepped in. This is Nina. We went to college together. Rachel extended a hand with effortless grace. Nice to meet you. Nina mumbled something close to a greeting, her eyes darting between us. I could see it now, the shift. Her trying to calculate what Rachel meant in the context of my life. Girlfriend? Friend? Business partner? Rachel, ever the intuitive one, smiled warmly. I'm going to grab us a table before the rush starts. Come find me when you're ready. She gave my hand a gentle squeeze, then turned and walked away. That's when Nina noticed it. My ring. It wasn't flashy, just a simple black band on my left hand. But the weight of it shifted everything in her eyes. She tilted her head, slowly. Wait, are you married? Not yet, I said, watching her closely. But engaged? Yeah. To her? She asked, a little too quickly, nodding toward the direction Rachel had gone. The surprise in her voice was poorly disguised. I nodded. Rachel, we've been together for almost 4 years now. She blinked, probably doing the math. Wow, I didn't know. I shrugged. We met at a startup meetup. Back when I was still packing orders myself and renting a room in a 3-flat. Nina folded her arms and looked away, jaw clenched slightly. You really moved on. Finally, I said. I had to. She stared at the floor for a beat, then whispered, I guess I messed up, didn't I? I looked at her, not out of pity or gloating, but with the kind of clarity that only comes when healing is real. Back then, when everything fell apart, I didn't understand it. I thought maybe I wasn't enough, that if I just worked harder I could prove myself. But looking back, you made it pretty clear what mattered most to you. That's not fair, she said, voice rising slightly. I was young. We both were. I'm not blaming you, I replied. But let's be honest. You didn't leave because I was wrong for you. You left because I hadn't arrived yet. She flinched, just slightly, the way people do when something too true hits too close. I did care about you, she said. I believe you, I replied. But caring and staying are different things. She went quiet again, then finally asked, why do you think I reached out? You really think I'm here just because of Forbes? Or the money? Or the car? I shrugged. I don't know, but ask yourself this. If I were still broke, still coding in a dorm library, still scraping by on coupons and student loans, would you have sent that message? She didn't answer. Her silence said more than any excuse could. I do feel something, I said softly. Her eyes lit up for half a second. Gratitude, I continued. You leaving gave me space. You gave me the silence I needed to finally hear myself. She looked at me then, not with longing, but with recognition, with the kind of maturity that only arrives when it's already too late. I really did mess up, she said again, quieter this time. I nodded, offering a gentle smile. Maybe, but it's okay. We all make choices. We said goodbye not with fanfare, not with drama or lingering touches, but with a quiet nod, a mutual acknowledgement of a chapter that had closed long before either of us realized. Later that night, as Rachel and I sat across from each other at our favorite Thai spot, sharing pad CEW and laughing about something I already forgot, my phone buzzed. Nina, I guess I really messed up, didn't I? I stared at the message for a moment, then slid the phone back into my jacket pocket without replying. Because some chapters don't need sequels. Some stories are better left finished. And sometimes, the best closure isn't a clever response. It's sitting beside the one who never made you beg to be seen.